So what is the perfect survival knife? What survival knife do I recommend for a 72-hour bag, for a bug out bag, for your different kits, for bushcrafting? That's what we'll talk about in this video. Guys, welcome to the channel. And as always, if you want to learn more about survival and preparedness, you do have the channel with a ton of content already uploaded. I always recommend also my books, Street Survival Skills, for a bunch of this information, EDC, gear, knives, tools for self-defense, and so on, as well as Surviving the Economic Collapse, based on my experience going through just that in Argentina when the economy crashed. Now, the topic of this video is survival knives, specifically medium-sized survival knives. If you're interested in small survival knives, I already did that video if you want to go check it out, but basically it was mostly about this. The Mora knife. It is very hard to argue against it. It is very well made in Sweden, super high quality. The brand is legendary at this point and is very affordable. But besides that, it's just a small, compact survival knife that will do most of the things you need. Are there tougher knives? Of course. Would be a full tang knife would be stronger? Yeah, sure. Keep in mind that everything breaks eventually, but these are super tough. And you have some heavy duty models if that's really what you're looking for. And you have knives that are kind of like getting closer to that medium size. This is a BPS knife made in Ukraine of all places. It's a very nice knife for the money, a little bit closer to the size of what you would consider maybe a medium-sized knife. So yeah, it's kind of like in that point in between. So we could put that right there. But in terms of small knives, usually a Mora will do quite nicely. You have, of course, other options, fancier steel, more expensive brands and so on, but that's usually what you're going to be looking to. Now, maybe the more intense area for survival knives is this one, the medium-sized survival knife. Why? Well, because in terms of survival preparedness, there is that Goldilocks point where it's not too small, yet it's not too big. What happens when a knife is just too small? Well, it won't be able to do some of the heavier duty tasks that a knife that is larger can do. What happens if it's too big? Well, you just don't carry it around. Sure, a machete is a fantastic tool, but do you carry one with you at all times? No, probably not. Is it a lot easier to throw one of these things in your small day pack? Yes, it is. A machete is a lot larger, and even though it is very useful, convenience has to be there in the equation too. Now, I already mentioned this one. One of the main knives I always think about in terms of the next step from your Mora is your bigger Mora. This is a Mora all-round. I think that's the name of the model. I don't think they make it anymore. I think it's been discontinued, if I got that right, which is a real shame because these are excellent knives. Let me show you the model in case you manage to come across one of these. So that's the number, of course, made in Sweden, model 731. And I've seen it as all-round knife. These are very nice medium-sized survival knives. It's a bit of a longer blade than your classic Mora. Still on the lighter side of a medium-sized knife. Of course, if you compare it to some of the other ones, there's a lot less metal, but still, you have some of the key aspects of a longer, bigger blade, meaning the reach you have, if you have to use it for self-defense, the reach you have in terms of batoning across a log. Is this ideal for batoning? No, of course not. It's a little bit light, it's a little bit thin, but hell, it will be doing that if you push it towards it, and it's going to be holding just okay. It's going to be holding up nicely. It's not a full tang knife, right? But it does have a decent size of blade. I would like to see more of these around because this is one of the knives I recommend. The other one I always talk about is the Glock. Now, this is a thicker stock blade. This is a knife intended for fighting. It is a bayonet. It is a survival knife, according to Glock, and I won't question that. Maybe it's not the best steel. Maybe it's not the toughest heat treatment, but it's very durable. It's going to be it's going to be taking a beating very well. Maybe it hasn't got the best edge retention. That's the thing I'm looking for, the word I was thinking of here. Because toughness, this is super tough. It's one of the toughest knives you can have. But the edge retention, because of the heat treatment, being more towards durability. Again, keep in mind, this is intended as a military bayonet knife, not so much edge retention. Edge retention will be better in this one or in some of these other ones, but this is going to be affordable. I bought a bunch of these for 20, 22, 25 bucks tops, and for the money, it is very difficult to beat. These are very close to that, but again, a lot more. These are not being made anymore. If you want something for cutting, this is great. Because the Scandi grind is going to be cutting beautifully nice. Very narrow tip too. This is more of a beater. As you see, it's been through a lot, and it's my go-to beater in terms of medium-sized knives, right? Like the Hultaford is my small beater knife. This is my beat around the bush, beat the crap out of a larger knife. The one that I have from Aitor, the model that I did for them, that's been used a lot too. This one is almost unused, but this would be one of the knives that I use for just any of all those old tasks. Even for like, at one point, there's a little bit of white paint because just mixing a little bit of white paint for painting something, and this is what was around, and this is what got used. You have basically like nicer versions of these things, like these knives. These is the Peltonen Ranger M95, I think it is. So this is for the Finland Armed Forces. Great knife, but as you see, there's the common theme of a very narrow blade. This is more of a tactical fighting knife kind of application with a clip point. This is more of the typical Scandi Nordic kind of knife. Not a whole lot of a difference, but you kind of get the idea. There's also the idea of something more of the utilitarian hunting outdoors type, and that was a very strong influence in one of the most famous knives of them all, the K-bar. This is an Ontario modern rendition of the K-bar, just a little bit different here and there, but basically still a K-bar knife. Now the clip point, and this one has kind of like, I actually have my actual K-bar knife here, so we might as well bring it out. This is a proper World War II K-bar knife. So the traditional K-bar knife, which is one of the most famous knives ever, is basically a hunting knife, right? It's an outdoors kind of knife that was adopted into the US military. The design was basically copied from commercial knives with a few adjustments here and there, mostly in terms of cutting costs, let's be honest about that. But basically a medium-sized 6-7 inch blade with a clip point. That's what you want here in terms of a do-it-all, all-round, general-purpose knife that has been very successful in the military field. Famous K-bar knife, right? Clip point, broad, nice, good knife. Now, in terms of what you have of modern renditions of this sort of knife, it's probably going to be something like your Cold Steel, right? Your Cold Steel SRK. It's a little bit shorter, right? As these, the more modern things tend to be a little bit smaller, but you still have a very strong knife, clip points, great steel. This is the older made in USA Carbon 5 SRKs. These are the first SRKs they came up with. I was a child when I first saw this in a gun store, but I wasn't born yesterday. I knew immediately what a nice knife this was, and I had what little money I had, it went into buying this thing. I think I didn't do all that bad. These are classics at this point, and I'm only going to be getting more rare and valuable. But anyway, you still can buy the modern, currently made in Taiwan, wherever that is, wherever it's being made, a Cold Steel SRK. That is, without a doubt, one of the best medium-sized survival knives that you can get. Would I recommend like an Ontario, like a classic leather handle? No. The rat tail tang is quite thin, and it's not as durable. This is a knife that can take, again, the original K-bar. Some of them are a little bit worn out and took a beating, but if you take care of your K-bar, even your traditional K-bar, rat tail, leather washer handle, these things will last generations. This thing will last your entire lifetime. This is a World War II era K-bar, and it's still serviceable as a knife. Of course, for me, it's a collection piece, but still a sharp piece of metal that will do what you need. And then you have some of the more, for example, your Fogneven A1. As you see, not really all that different, right? And there's nothing wrong with this. It's not that, oh, this guy copied that other guy. No. These things are very similar because they just work so damn well. So if you want to have like a fancier SRK, probably your Fogneven A1 laminated VG10, this is a great option. You have the tang going all the way through, and you can hammer with this thing, and it is a great survival knife. This is maybe one of the better survival knives on this medium size. You have some more rare manufacturers or some of these brands like Bussy. I like Bussy quite a bit. I have several of their knives. The different models I don't like all of this baked crap. I think it's just terrible, and it just attracts dirt, and that's just not nice. If you're gonna buy, for this price range, you want to have this kind of finish or this kind of finish, something that is a mirror polish. And yes, it's probably gonna be stainless steel. Carbon steel will work nicely too, but stainless steel is a lot easier to keep clean. If you're gonna be using your knife for whatever, preparing food, you just fish something and you're cooking, you're preparing, you're cutting vegetables, whatever it is you're using your knife for, anything that's going to be food preparation or anything that is about keeping the blade clean, stainless steel is what you want to have. It's a lot easier to keep clean. It's not just about rust, it's about cleanliness, right? And that works very well. My knife, the Aitor, the Furfall knife, this is still being made by Aitor, and I think it's going for under $200. So it's not about, self-promotion. I will say that it's maybe one of the more affordable high-end knives. I have no doubt about the capabilities of this knife. It is made in Spain. It's not some cheap Chinese knockoff crap. The blade was designed this way by myself for a number of reasons, mostly the idea of I usually like large survival knives. So if I have to design a medium-sized survival knife, this is what I design, because this means it has more metal where it matters for chopping. I wanted a medium-sized survival knife that would be very good at chopping, right? And that would be very, very good at carving and push cutting and all of these things, which is the reason why I designed it this way. Maybe the recurved edge is not for beginners, even though with one of these ceramic rods, anyone can sharpen this without an issue, without any problems. Even the little sharpening stone that the knife comes with, because this knife does come with a sheath that has, it's very cool. It has like a sharpening store here, a survival kit here, and a spare survival knife that can be used as a spear. This is the same one that comes with a Jungle King made by Aitor as well. And even this is for wrenches. So very cool little tool that Aitor throws along with my knife in their sheath. And this is not just Kydex crappy little sheath. No, this is injected fiberglass solid, material that will take a heck of a beating. So this is high quality stuff, and yet the price, I haven't checked in a while, but I'm pretty sure it's still under $200. Check in their website. There's probably some promotion code there below. I honestly don't keep track of all of these things, but it is very hard to recommend something more expensive that I know it's not going to be. These are great. I love this one. This is a great knife. The difference though is the clip point versus the more utilitarian tip that I went for in my design. I wanted to have this bigger head. I wanted to have that. It's not a big knife, but it's going to be chopping like a bigger knife because of how much metal. Now, it also has to be said, this knife of mine compared to this one, well, this is a lot cheaper, of course. It's not the same thing, but for as lightweight as it is, this is like the bare bone, brought down to the bare minimum of what a medium-sized survival knife should be in terms of weight and size. This is you carrying a bit more weight because you want more capabilities. And of course, steel is a whole lot better. N680 boiler steel, made in it's Swedish steel, properly heat treated and tested there with a hardness, Rockwell hardness to 57, 58 or so, basically going more for durability than edge retention, but still it's going to be a lot more edge retention. It is significant, the amount of edge retention that you have over, not just this is very bad in terms of edge retention. This is 1095 at about 55, but even compared to your 1095 at 57, 58 or so, there's noticeably a lot more edge retention. So yeah, it's kind of, these are your options that I look towards. Like you can go a little bit more military, tactical, narrow blade style. You can go for a wider, broader geometry of the blade, which will do some more of these tasks of digging, prying, and this sharpened pry bar thing that I like to incorporate in my own design. And obviously Bussy has always been very big on it is something you can use to pry open a door if you have to. Can you use this for that? Of course. Can you use mine? Most definitely. Can you use it for chopping a brick wall? Yes, you can do that. You can use this one too, but it hasn't got that weight to it. So it's going to be more about stabbing your way through a brick wall with this guy here. This is going to be a little bit too light for that, even though it's very good. And this will simply not have the strength of the tang for that kind of beating. Cold steel SRK, yeah, again, great way to go. Guys, these are basically some of the many options that are out there. If you find something that you like that is of good quality and it's of a known quality, something that you're not just, and also make sure you're paying for what you get. I know that in my own knife, I know that the steel that was used, I know where it's being made, I designed it myself, so I know all of these things. And if I'm gonna pay $25 for a piece of 1095, I'm okay with that being made in Austria for the Austrian military and a bunch of other armed forces. If I'm gonna be buying the Fallkniven, I'm super happy with this knife too, man. I cannot find a fault in anyone going with a Fallkniven of any of their models. All of them, they're very well designed. They're fantastic knives. For cold steel for the money, I would avoid the epoxy kind of finish. I think that with a stainless steel polish finish like this is a lot better for survival applications. Just make sure you're not overpaying. I'll end up with that. Typical SC knife, which is just a piece of 1095. Oh, we do magic bullshit heat treatment. Bro, it is 1095. A solid piece, full tang, but still 1095. It's not worth $200, okay? If it's a higher end steel like the one I use or the one the folks from Fallkniven use, I see the point. I see where the money is going. I see where my money is. Not so much in terms of the marketing aspect, but in terms of you have better steel for your money. Don't get me wrong. SC knives are beautifully well designed. It's $10.95 though. That's for a $100 knife or lower, not for the prices that I see them going these days. Anyway, you just make your own decision based on the information that you have available, and you have a ton of options out there. See you in the next video, guys. Take care.